Thursday. Let me just get situated here and say hi to everybody. All right, can you hear me? If you can't hear me or if you can't see me, let me know. I am out in the brand new garden space today. Welcome for those of you just joining me for the first time, and welcome back for those of you that join me regularly. Uh, I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I try to go live here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. I'm having trouble seeing any. I can see you. Okay. Hi. Tell me where you are. Tell me what's going on in your part of the world. Let me know what you're planting today. While I am live, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your questions. If I miss your question, I apologize. It's not on purpose. I don't always see the comments as they come along. Hang on just a sec. There we go. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So, if you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Let me know what's going on. Hey, Christine, thanks for joining us. And hey, Kate as well. So today I am in the brand new garden space. So tonight's topic is seeds I'm planting in April as well as garden layout. Hey, Asia Joe, thanks for joining us. So every week I try and share information about gardening that customers and friends and family and followers have asked during the week. Hey Inga, hey Monica, Moonblade, Susan, thanks for joining us. I've got people from Florida, West Virginia, New York, Ohio. So my live chats are not just about East Texas. So if you don't know about Mary's Heirloom Seeds, I have grown in California, Southern California, South Florida, and now East Texas. So I have a pretty awesome, hey Hoglegs, I have a pretty awesome experience in growing in different places, mostly in warmer climates, obviously. And I apologize. Oh, you're in Patty J is in Canada. Thanks for joining us. So I'm a little hoarse today because, okay, I'm not a pony. I'm not a little horse, but my voice is a little hoarse. It's been that kind of week. I am so excited that East Texas is warming up, and there are so many things that I can plant that it has kept us busy. We're working overtime in the seed shop, and then I am working overtime in the garden and thoroughly enjoying it. Let's see. All right. Jenny says, I do a great deal of, oops, sorry, hang on. Give me a second. I lost my bucket. Jenny, sorry about that. I missed you. You have container garden, yet to be successful with strawberries. So if you're having trouble with something in particular, send me an email and I will give you a much more thorough answer for strawberries in particular. Hey, Agape Field, you're also in East Texas. Strawberries take a long time to establish from seed. Hey, Raven Cat, another Canadian customer. Strawberries can be kind of fickle. They do take a little while to establish from seed. So I don't know if you're growing from seeds or whether you're going from starts that you're purchasing. So it really depends on what you're starting with. So send me an email. For those of you that don't know, I do actually answer my own emails. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I do actually answer my emails. So tonight's topic is, what am I planting seeds in April? Oop, this is just not going to work. If you didn't know, in my part of East Texas, we have received 4 inches of rain in the last 3 days. So it has been crazy and it is muddy. And if you see my garden behind me, it is very wet and I'm super excited about that. Inga says pollination has started here. I'm trying to keep my allergies in check, but nettle isn't ready to pick. Maybe this is why you're hoarse. It's very possible. I do have dried nettle and spearmint, and I do a dried nettle and spearmint tea every day. But it's been very busy. So that could be why too. I'm a little tired, but that's okay. I love this time of year. I'm not even kidding. Last week was spring has sprung, and I cannot tell you how excited I am for this time of year. So anyway, I'm getting off track. So today's topic is what we're planting in April. It is warming up in East Texas. So I'm going to try and get my situation a little less wobbly over here because, like I said, we had a lot of rain. So everything is kind of mushy on this side. So I'm in the brand new garden space. It's dirty, it's muddy, which is what it's supposed to be. We just finally built these raised beds over the weekend. We filled them this week, so it is awesome. Asia Joe, I'm going to talk about cool weather crops as well. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about heat tolerant crops that I'm going to be planting in my garden. So it's warming up here. It's a cooler day today, but it's supposed to be in the 80s during the week, during the rest of the week, I should say. So I'm going to be planting warm weather crops here. I've got this new garden space to plant. I have 10 out of 25 beds already built and filled. So the next is to build more and to fill more. I'm going to be planting summer squash and winter squash and pumpkin. So if you don't know, pumpkin is a winter squash, but not all winter squash is a pumpkin. So I include those in my list. I'm going to be planting okra. Hey, Wicked Awesome Gardening, thanks for joining us. I'm going to be planting some heat-loving stuff here. Southern peas, okra, New Zealand spinach. I just sent out an email about New Zealand spinach because one of my customers was like, is there such thing as a perennial spinach? And absolutely there is. New Zealand spinach. Now it's not the same as a regular spinach. So if you like a regular, like they have in the store-bought, hey Keith Scott, thanks for joining us. Happy 300th video. Thank you so much. So New Zealand spinach is a little thicker than regular spinach. So America spinach, Bloomsdale Longstanding, Giant Noble is hands down the best producer this year. But New Zealand spinach, not only is it a perennial in warmer climates, it tolerates heat so much better. So even though summer is fast approaching and warm weather is fast approaching, I'm going to be planting New Zealand spinach this week. It grows more on the ground than it does upright because its stems are a little weaker. So I'm super excited because I want to be able to create some ground cover on my raised beds for things like squash, pumpkins, melons. That's another one that I'm going to be growing. Peppers, tomatoes, and one that I'm really excited to grow this year is pink popcorn. I'm going to be growing the early pink popcorn in the front beds, and I'll talk about layout in just a second. So I'm also going to be planting some warm weather herbs as companion plants. Again, part of the layout portion of our video. If you're just joining me, welcome. For those of you that join me regularly, I bounce around sometimes. And if you have questions, you can always comment below or send an email. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I do answer emails. So we've got this raised bed area. So far, I've got 10 beds. And we're going to talk about how we are going to lay some of these beds out. But first, if it's just now warming up in your area, maybe you're going to be growing some cool weather crops. So first I mentioned some of the warm weather crops I'm growing. And now if you're not in an area that's warm yet, hey Jill, thanks for joining us. Now would be the time, possibly, depending on where you are, to plant some cool weather crops. Cool weather crops include radish, lettuce, spinach that I mentioned earlier, rutabagas, turnips, beets, pretty much every single lettuce variety you could possibly imagine. You could be starting right now in a warmer area. You could do Malabar spinach or perpetual spinach Swiss chard. It kind of has a flavor of spinach, but it's a Swiss chard, which makes it more heat tolerant. Swiss chard is an awesome option if you want a more heat tolerant green variety. Hey Kathleen, thanks for joining me. And then some of the herbs that are more cool tolerant, like cilantro, extra dwarf pak choi, excellent varieties for cooler weather. So in the description section of this video, you will find several links. You're going to find the link to my comprehensive planting guide. All this information is in there. I've got cool weather crops. I've got warm weather crops. I've got what to plant and when to plant it. And then also you will find a link to my spring 2024 seed sale. It is pretty awesome. So the spring seed sale goes until April 16th, 2024. It's a great chance to stock up on some seeds. They start at only $1 each, so you know it's a great time to shop around. Maybe you're going to find something that you haven't thought about planting before, or maybe you want to stock up on something for fall if it's warmer in your area already. You'll also find links to these awesome shirts. The shirts have been super popular lately. I've got our Mary's Heirloom Seeds Veggie Basket shirt, and then I also have the Mostly Feral Gardener shirts, which are kind of fun. My sister designed those for me. So you will also find links to our social media, and then there is a video, starting a garden from scratch. Yesterday I got an email from someone. They follow me on one of my social media pages, and they said they want to start a garden, but they don't know where to start, and there is so much information it gets to be confusing. So hey David, thanks for joining us. Happy to hear you got your happy mail. Missy Smith says hog legs, definitely stock up. Missy Smith, I want to answer a question. How is Swiss chard with disease and pests? Literally one of the best. One of my favorite people in the whole world, besides my husband, that is Catherine at Little Bits of Heaven Homestead. I follow her on YouTube. She's not as active anymore as she used to be, but she calls it bomb proof. It is one of the best crops to plant because it is versatile. You can plant it in the spring, you can plant it in the summer, you can plant it in the winter depending on where you are. In a more moderate climate, I had one in California grow for 2 years. So fantastic. And it is pest tolerant, it is disease tolerant. I have never had an infestation of like powdery mildew or anything on mine. Of course, I'm saying that for my personal, I'm not saying that it's definitely never going to happen. The worst I had on on my Swiss chard was pincher bugs. And I literally have a video. I probably didn't share it on my business page, but I took the Swiss chard and I shook it out into a tray, and I took the pincher bugs and I tossed into my chickens, and they loved it. It was like popcorn. So Inca says Swiss chard is very ornamental and you cannot kill it. Right. See, that's why she calls it bomb proof, but it's because it's really, really good. It's easy to grow. I don't feed it. I don't eat it as often as I probably could. But it's a really good one. I like the younger leaves raw, and I prefer the larger leaves cooked. You can cook it just like spinach. You could use it in place of spinach. So if you're looking for a green to replace your spinach in the summertime, Swiss chard is the go-to. And I think I have rainbow Swiss chard on sale right now in our seed sale. So now our video. Today we're talking about what we're planting in April. So first I discussed my what I'm planting for my warm weather crops, and I also mentioned the cool weather crops that you can be planting. And again, Swiss chard is a cool weather crop and a warm weather crop, so you can pretty much plant it wherever you are. And Monica says I love Catherine as well. Cool. So now we're going to talk about layout. Keith Scott, what do you think about kohlrabi? It's great. It's a cooler weather crop. It tastes like a little like cabbage. So I'm not going to be planting kohlrabi in this garden bed. I should have mentioned it during my cool weather crops, but I just gave a brief summary of a couple of them. But if you look at my cool weather crops, kohlrabi is mentioned, and it is awesome. You can eat the leaves. You can eat it's not necessarily a root because it doesn't grow below ground, but it looks like a root crop, but that grows above ground, which is kind of cool. And I even have a recipe about how to use it. So definitely a great one if you have cooler weather in your area. If it's not going to be 80 degrees tomorrow, like it is going to be in East Texas, you can definitely plant some kohlrabi seeds this week. So layout. Now I mentioned in my video, it was called Partial Shade and Full Sun Gardens. I mentioned this layout. Now, this is a massive amount of space. Garden Girl says, how warm does the soil need to be for tomatoes? It really depends. If you're transplanting tomatoes, it needs to be it needs to be warm. If you are planting the seeds, they can kind of worry about a little less. If your soil isn't warm enough to transplant, I would wait. So it really depends on if you're planting seeds or if you're transplanting. I currently have a bunch of tomatoes on the back patio, and a massive laid out. You can barely walk through it. And they are hardening off. They're getting acclimated to our warmer weather out here. And they're doing really well, but they're not ready to be transplanted into here yet because I just put this soil in and I want to make sure that the soil is ready to go before I transplant my tomatoes. So let's talk about garden layout. Now I have quite a few videos on large spaces, small spaces, and heat. So this area here is it's partial shade by 1 o'clock in the outer, on the sides, and then the back side. So you can see where it's mostly shaded. You can see a little bit of what's called dappled sunlight in the background. The front area that I'm sitting in here gets full sun until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now it's 5 o'clock, so of course I'm in the shade, which is really nice, so I'm not in the sun. So I will plant accordingly. Now this layout of the garden is fantastic because I can get a diverse amount of crops in this area and it's going to be awesome. So on the outer areas here where I get partial sun in the midday, this is a great place to plant things that will wilt and die in the full sun of East Texas summer. So those are going to be I could plant some tomatoes on the outer edge, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be planting more warm tolerant greens, collards, Swiss chard. Hey, Green Thumb Gardener, thanks for joining us. Hey, Sandra. So the outer area here that gets partial sun, dappled sun, and only gets full sun in the morning time, go back to that video so you can see what is going to grow better in your area based on the amount of light that your garden gets. I get really excited about planting. Now the front area here is going to be 2 rows of 8 raised beds across. Now the side raised beds, probably 2 on either side, are going to be partial sun for half the day, but the front 2 rows are going to be full sun until 4 p.m. So that's where I'm going to be planting my heat-loving crops, my sun-loving crops. And those are going to be things like tomatoes, peppers, squash, pumpkin, melons. Now let's talk about a specific layout of this garden bed here. So I use metal cages for my tomatoes. This is a large piece that was left over when I made my tomato cages. So if you want to know how to make your own tomato cages, they are a fraction of the cost if you make them yourself versus buying them in the store. In the description section of this video, you'll find a link to my comprehensive planting guide, and in that guide is the do-it-yourself tomato cages. I've got it in a video and I've got it in a text version that if you don't want to watch the video. So when I have leftovers like this, I'm going to put this over my bed. This does several things for me. This will give me a way to better space out some of my transplants. So this bed right here will probably have onion transplants. This year I have got a ton of onion transplants that because I didn't have this garden space ready, I couldn't direct sow. So I went ahead and planted them indoors, and now they're outside obviously, so I've got some transplants to put in. But I want to make sure that I transplant them with enough space and I don't overdo it. Laying this down will also keep the chickens out. It will keep squirrels out, hopefully, so that I don't have to actually fence in or use that type of material around the entire bed. Now, if I have to, I will. I don't have chickens on this side that are my chickens. I have their chickens that are not mine that are still possibly going to eat some of my seedlings. So I want to protect them. I want to protect the delicate seedlings as well. The chickens may not kill full grown corn, for example, but they might, well, they definitely will, kill the delicate seedlings once I start planting them. So popcorn will probably go in this bed here. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be planting pink popcorn, which is a new arrival for 2024 at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. So there's also going to be in this layout some companion plants. So using some sort of grid, I've seen people use different strings and things like that. So you can actually measure out all of the squares and use a string method for that. Totally fine as well. You can grow in all sorts of different types. You can grow in ground, you can grow in containers, you can grow in raised beds, you can do a combination of everything. Everything will work out. It just depends on your space. So for me, raised beds work best for my layout, not only of my property, but also layout of the garden beds that I have. So this makes probably one of the larger gardens that we have. We've got several regular raised bed gardens, we've got several container gardens, and then this one here is a nice big one that we'll be getting started on. So the layout as far as this goes is going to be cool weather or shade tolerant on the outside. So definitely check out the full sun and shade garden video that I did. And then the front rows are going to be heat tolerant. So tell me what you're going to be planting. Enough about me. What about companion plants? How many of you are planting companions inside your beds, or what we call interplanting in your beds? I use marigolds, basil, oregano, dill away from my tomatoes, but I still use dill. What else? Calendula. I probably already mentioned it, but calendula is a heat lover. So I will be planting calendula with my tomatoes for sure. Radishes also to help deter some of the pests, but also to give a little bit of ground cover. And then so much basil. I am planting every single variety of basil I can possibly stand in my beds. And if you want to make sure that you don't have cross-pollination, you can pinch off all of the flowers of what you don't want to save seeds from, and then leave the flowers for the ones that you do want to save seeds from. Borage is an excellent suggestion. Nasturtiums with your cucumbers is definitely an excellent suggestion. I'm looking at so the bed in front of me that's way on the other side. I say in front of me like it's right in front of me, but it's not. It's on the other side. I planted nasturtiums in every one of my cucumber beds and every one of my squash beds. So those are super important. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily limit myself to perennials by themselves. I often plant perennials within my garden beds, and I just am more aware of what will stay and what will go. So something to think about. Monica said, I started with grow bags and have now upgraded to raised beds. I have grow bags as well. I forgot to even mention that. I do have grow bags as well. Keith Scott says nasturtium, basil, garlic. Awesome. I've got some awesome garlic beds over there. I did garlic in ground last year for the first time. I really prefer raised beds for garlic. The weeds, the garlic struggled with all the weeds, and I struggled because it got overwhelming for me for all these different projects I have going on, and then just managing other family related things that were pretty difficult last year, and it got away from me, so my garlic suffered. So I made a point to only plant garlic in raised beds this year, and they are doing so fantastic. Inga says that is the feral gardener in you. Random planting mixes with perennials, herbs, and veggies. Monica says basil, oregano, and calendula, and rosemary. Rosemary is awesome. I have rosemary planted around the front of the seed shop because I can cover that area for when it gets cold and a little snowy over here. Yes, I am a semi-feral gardener. I may feel mostly feral some days. Actually, most days I feel mostly feral. Only some days it's kind of. Keith said garlic for pest control. Don't expect them to bulb since they didn't overwinter. You never know. I combined strawberries with asparagus as companions. Great idea. I'm looking over here and I've got strawberries and bunching onions. So those are great companions. You can definitely put garlic in with your raised beds. They might bulb, they might not. Just a reminder for those of you watching, it is way too early to harvest your garlic right now. So if you planted garlic this year, if you planted garlic last year in fall and you are going to harvest it this year, please, please, please listen. Don't harvest yet. It is only April. We plant our garlic here in East Texas in late October, and I don't harvest till June or July. Late June, early July. So they need the timing of the change of seasons, the change of daylight, and they start bulbing. So it is way too early to start planting now. So that was also a customer question this week. This week was they pulled some of their garlic and they didn't have bulbs, and it's because it's too early to harvest them right now. So this is my extra garden area space. I shouldn't even say extra. This is the new garden space. There will probably be more garden spaces in the future if I have the energy to add more, which I always have the energy to add more. Asia Joe says, I don't know why I have a hard time with garlic, onions, herbs, even mint. All the easy stuff is hardest. Hogleg said the same thing to me. So garlic is, I've got several videos on garlic. So if you're wondering about garlic and if you're not sure, use the search option on YouTube and type in garlic Mary's Heirloom Seeds. It's fantastic. I've got a bunch of different videos. Mint, spearmint I grow, lemon balm is in the mint family, catnip. They usually come back every year. And I was just telling my friend that was working with me in the seed shop, I was clearing out some of the beds, pulling some of the dead off the lemon balm a couple months ago. I want to say it was in February because I started to see a little greenery. And I just pulled a bunch of dead off the spearmint and I threw it in my compost pile. And now I've got spearmint growing in my compost pile. So I'm definitely going to have to pull that up. Raven Cat, thank you so much. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the thumbs up. In the description section, you will find links to my comprehensive planting guide. Secret to growing mint is to plant it where you don't want it to grow. Yes, that is a possibility because it spreads. So as I was saying, in the description section of this video, you'll find a link to my comprehensive planting guide. The t-shirts, the Start a Garden from Scratch video, the grow bags that we started, that we just added, and I've got some videos on those too. We've got grow bags in 5, 10, and 15 gallons. There is so much information in the comprehensive planting guide. It might feel overwhelming at first, but hopefully you can wade through it. And if you've got questions, as I mentioned earlier, send me an email. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I actually answer your emails. Asia Joe says, don't worry, I had some volunteer lettuce pop up on my sidewalks. Me too. I was walking to the seed shop this morning. I was like, oh, there's some lettuce. Oh, there's more lettuce. Oh, there's some cilantro. So yes, it's definitely awesome. Don't plant mint in your green stock. Yeah. So, well, I will say this. One of the common concerns with different types of mint, catnip is part of the mint family. Lemon balm, also part of the mint family. So if you are worried about it spreading or expanding itself, plant it in containers. But yeah, a green stalk is a whole nother story because you got everything all in one place. So I have catnip in containers around different parts of my garden. And if you don't want it to spread by seed, just pull those, pull the flowers off as soon as you see it, because if it drops its seed, you'll probably have catnip forever. But I like catnip. We've got cats that eat it. I use it as a tea. Same with the lemon balm. I'm about to go in and have some spearmint and nettle tea for my allergies. So hopefully I can recover tomorrow and get back out here in the garden. So I'm really glad that you joined me for my video today. Today we talked about what we're going to plant for April. Asia Joe says, I'd imagine herbs I could use just a gallon or 2-size container. Absolutely. No, Asia Joe, that's a perfect question. I recommend 5 gallons for most stuff, but you can definitely do smaller containers for different varieties. I do have 1-gallon containers that I have put catnip in, basil, cilantro, even chives, oregano, my oregano spread as well. So I just pulled out chunks of oregano and plopped it in a 1-gallon container, threw some soil on it, and you're good to go. So you don't necessarily have to plant it every year. Some of these varieties are so awesome, perennials that come back every year depending on, sometimes depending on your climate. Rosemary doesn't necessarily come back every year if you have a hard freeze or if you have like 6 feet of snow. So I tend to bring my rosemary in. So definitely not off topic. You're always happy. I'm always happy to answer questions if I can. But I will say that I'm ready to wrap it up now. I need to give my voice a little bit of a rest. I'm so happy you joined me today. So today's topic was seed planting in April and garden layouts. If you are looking for resources for planning out your garden, check out my January video. I had a January video, it was live, about garden resources, and it was garden planning resources. So it's a great video to go back. And if you missed this live video, you can always watch the replay. So anyway, I am Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I'm going to sign off. If you've got questions, send me an email. Check out some of my other videos, the ones that either aren't live or my more recent live videos. There's so much information, and I try to answer your questions during my live videos, which tonight I answered some questions that were sent to me in an email, so perfect timing. Alrighty, everybody, I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, signing off, and happy planting, everybody, and happy spring.